From trading currencies in Switzerland to navigating the streets of San Diego. Find out why Mr. Frank Martinez became a rideshare driver and learn his techniques about converting passengers into cash rides. This is Rideshare Drivers Unplugged. All right, Mr. Frank, can you tell me a little bit about your background and what you did before you started driving Uber/Lyft?
Hello, my name is Frank and I'm here in San Diego, California. Now, what did I do before driving for Lyft and Uber? I was a private investigator and a legal clerk for a criminal defense attorney. Boy, what some adventures that was. Sometimes I did pick up some of our clients, not like I do now, but sometimes I'd pick them up from the jail and drop them off to the airport as they're getting out of prison and returning home to wherever they were from. Or sometimes I would pick them up on Skid Row and bring them to the courthouse for their court appearance. But enough of that. But what did I do before that? As a trader, now that I'm a currency trader, I was a professional in the currency trading market. I co-founded an online trading firm in Zurich, Switzerland, lived there for about 4 years, doing my business till I got bought out. Then I returned to San Diego, and that's when I started working for this criminal defense attorney. You know what? I would love to just be chatty Cathy and talk with strangers of just about everything, and have a flexible work schedule. And somebody told me, hey, why don't you become a rideshare driver? You're very outgoing and you like to joke around with people. You're jovial and you like driving around, lots of parts of San Diego. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And obviously, just starting out doing that, Uber and Lyft, they don't give you any instructions. They don't coach you or anything like that. So it was a little nerve-wracking figuring out, how to go about doing that, how to deal with people. I mean, I'm used to dealing with people, but most of the people I dealt with were people who were being criminally charged of something, So they were open and friendly to me because they thought I could help them. But when you're picking up strangers on the street, you kind of wonder, it's like, oh, is this kind of like a taxi driver situation where they're going to rob me or stab me or something like that? You hear all these crazy things going on. But you know what? I feel most people are pretty decent people, and they just want to get from A to B. And anybody who looks sketchy, well, tell you what, I'll give you some advice. Do not stop. Keep going. Follow your instinct.
Can you tell me what drew you into the rideshare industry?
Well, I got into the rideshare industry because, I was done working for the attorney. He retired, and I didn't want to work for another firm yet. I wanted a break. But I also had family obligations, and one of those family obligations was my mother-in-law, sweet old lady. She's 97 now. She can't be left alone all day. She's got dementia, and so I have to be responsible for taking care of her, when I can't find her a babysitter. So I just didn't know who would hire me with that kind of flexible schedule need that I had. I needed that flexibility to work whenever I could and when it was available to me. And that's how I got into doing rideshare.
So how long have you been driving Uber and Lyft, and what changes have you seen?
Well, let's see. I've been driving Uber and Lyft for about just a little bit over 5 years, okay, on both platforms, okay? And the changes I've seen is probably the same changes, if you've been driving a long time, you have seen as well. My first year in 2019, I bought this nice car because Uber made a guarantee that they weren't going to take any more than 28% take rate. Of course, we know what happened with that. They broke their promise, but I was still stuck with the car payment. But anyways, that's one of the challenges of driving Uber and Lyft. They're always changing their agreements. But I've been driving for 5 years, and I've enjoyed it most of the time. And major thing I noticed is the cut in pay. When I started in 2019, my first year, I made over $100,000 driving after expenses. That was great. But I was driving like a maniac too. I was driving 10, 12 hours a day. Then as time went on, my family needed more of me. My mother-in-law, with her dementia, she couldn't be left alone as many hours anymore. I had to start cutting down to part-time. And that leads me to the next part. So what do I do part-time? I'd had to learn how to cherry pick. And if you've been following Amit's channel right now, you'll know how to cherry pick. And some of the plans he has and advice on cherry picking, some of the stuff that I've implemented over the years, and he's showing me some new things as well.
Can you tell me a little bit about your currency trading and Uber and Lyft driving and how you balance the time?
You know, the interesting thing is when I first started rideshare driving, I wasn't currency trading yet. It wasn't until 2020, you know, during the pandemic when a lot of stuff was shut down and we needed something to do. Yeah, sure, I got the stipend from the government, you know, which was convenient. But my wife says, oh, I got an idea. Why don't you get back into currency trading? You used to be really good at that. Now, she knows me for years, from when I started trading in 2000, you know, and then became a broker. So my work and trading balance is early in the morning when the New York session opens. I'm busy trading in the New York session, usually about 3 hours. Now, I'm a scalper, which means I'm in and out of the market. Could be minutes, could be an hour at the most for each trade that I take. That's my style of trading, scalping. So I'm usually done by 9 a.m. New York time. That frees up my time to do whatever else I wanted, but also frees up my time to attend to my mother-in-law's needs. And then maybe later on, when the best time for me that I've discovered to do the cherry picking is in the evenings, when I'm picking people up after work, or when they're heading out to the clubs or to the restaurants in downtown San Diego. That's where I do most of my driving.
So what motivated you to get an Uber XL for rideshare driving?
Well, when I first started driving on rideshare, I was using my wife's Kia Soul. I don't know if you're familiar with those cars. They're compact cars, very small, nothing luxurious about it. And I gotta tell you, after driving 6 months on the Kia Soul, my back was killing me. And I started hearing about other drivers saying how much money they were making as XL drivers. So I thought, that's what I gotta do. I gotta get into the XL driving thing, you know? So I started shopping around, going to car dealerships, looking for different type of cars. And of course, the thing that we mostly look into when we're overly ambitious, like as an Uber or Lyft driver, you're looking for the big SUVs, you know, the big fancy black car things, you know. But I started thinking reasonably to myself, because this car also had to be a family car. And I'm thinking, you know, my mother-in-law would have a hard time getting into one of those big, tall SUVs, you know, in her physical condition. I thought I need to get a car that's lower to the ground, but takes as many passengers as an XL, right? And looks nice and is comfortable too. And that's how I chose this van. It's a Chrysler Pacifica hybrid. So hybrid because I save on gas, and boy, do I enjoy that. Okay, now I share a lot online, social media, that, you know, anybody complains about driving for Uber and Lyft and all that. And right now our hands are tied as to what we can do until maybe some state legislator or some municipality makes rules that are more beneficiary to the drivers. But until that happens, I got to figure out some way to make more money. How do I do that? I take cash rides. Whenever I post about that, there's always somebody in the comments making remarks saying, oh, you'll get deactivated for doing that. You'll get deactivated by Uber or Lyft if they catch you converting clients to cash. No, not exactly. Let me tell you why. As soon as I go to pick up somebody, as soon as I agree to pick them up, I actually pick them up. I don't mention anything about converting them to a cash ride. Nothing. I greet them like I normally do. Hey, what's up? How you doing? What's good? You know, just having jovial, fun conversation with them, getting them to where they want to go, and also making a friend. You know, they're in my car. They're a stranger in my car. I might make a joking remark, and that's always a good thing. Have your regular joke that you use all the time in your back pocket. You know, hey, do you ride with strangers often, little girl? You know, something like that is kind of grabs them a little bit, and they start to laugh, you know. So as soon as we hit it off and we have a good vibe in the car, and I understand that they're a customer who rides with Uber and Lyft quite often, and I frankly just flat out ask them, oh, how often do you use Uber and Lyft? Oh, I use it all the time, you know. I don't own a car. Bingo, that's good. Especially how much are they paying for the ride? Does their company pay for the ride? Do they pay for it? You know, I get this kind of information all in a casual way, in a friendly way. I'm not interrogating them. It's like, give me the answers. I don't do that, you know, just friendly and casual. And if I find out, hey, they're a person of wealth, of means, you know, they probably have a need for a driver on a regular basis that they can trust. And that's when I start to convert them. What I mean by that is, hey, do you think you could use me again in the future? And did you enjoy the ride enough that you would like to schedule me again in the future? Because, you know, I do a lot of pre-scheduled rides, not on Uber and Lyft, because tell them to just go to the QR code. It's a simple website I have. Nothing fancy, just got a bunch of links on ways that they can contact me, either directly through WhatsApp or to my social media. And also this guy has links on there so how they can, you know, pay me. So for example, I have these other QR codes. If they want to tip me on PayPal, they can do it there. If they want to look at any of my other financial sites where they can pay me. That'd be Cash App, that'd be Venmo, PayPal, whatever it is. I have it all here, the QR codes, and they could just pay me directly. So anyways,
I took a couple of pictures and attached them for you right here so you can pause and take a look at this, maybe even possibly scan it for yourself. Remember, my goal on this YouTube channel is to help you the way other drivers have been helping me and make it easy for you to get your own private rides. So how do you, I've heard that you've done referral programs. How does that work?
well, San Diego is a very touristy town, and so there are businesses who want some of that business of the tourists who are coming into town. And one good way to do that is to direct them, especially to places of interest like Old Town San Diego, where San Diego's birthplace is. So there's a restaurant there called Cafe Coyote, and they have a program for referrals, and they give us drivers this card. We put our name on there and our phone number, and I give this to a passenger who I know is new to town, and I said, hey, have you ever been to Old Town? Do you plan to visit Old Town? Let me recommend a good place that has Mexican food, and if you take them this card, you'll get a free appetizer. How's that sound? You know what this does? This puts me in their memory. It has my phone number on it. So next time they need a ride while they're still in town, they can call me directly at my number and book a ride. Plus, they really like me because I just given them a free appetizer. So I'm usually guaranteed to get a tip anyways.
For those about to rock, I salute you.
You're familiar with AC/DC? Well, here's my portable mobile AC/DC concert unit, my karaoke unit.
What inspired you to get a karaoke machine in the car, and how is it with the passengers?
Well, the thing that inspired me about getting the karaoke machine is I love to sing, but I usually just sing in the shower. And I was watching some guy on YouTube, his name is Guitaro something or other, and he always takes people off the street and convinces them to sing a song while he plays the guitar. And he always says, so how did that make you feel after singing? And people say, well, I felt great. So I thought, I want my passengers to feel great too. So what I did is I got this karaoke machine. I said, well, I don't know, how am I going to work this? How am I going to do this? I first started with just a microphone that connected to my stereo, and that was a bomb. Didn't work very well because I would lose the connection. So I thought, you know what? If I get a standalone karaoke machine, it's the speaker, it's the microphone, the music plays through it too. I want to be all good. Even if it's not a high-end sophisticated one that I can use in a nightclub, it'd be fun and sufficient for the car. And you'd be surprised how many people get really rocked out, singing on the karaoke machine. People that seem very shy when they first get into the car, but as soon as you grab the mic and sing a few little phrases into it and hand it to them, they go wild. They have a lot of fun. And obviously, I got to tell you, I don't know what to say, but I don't know if I could say guaranteed, but I find I always get a tip when people sing on my karaoke machine. So this thing's a moneymaker for me.
For those about to rock, I salute you.
Tell me what other unique features you have in your car for a better passenger experience.
Well, other than the karaoke machine for a better passenger experience, I have the chargers, and they're multi-plug chargers for different types of phones. I have them on both headrests, this one and the one behind the driver's seat. On top of that, I have party lights, which you can't see right now. They show up really good at night. And at night when I'm doing most of my driving, of course, I find that people get really in a good vibe. They're in a party vibe. They're very happy and jovial. That's when people are most generous to give out tips. And that's really what it's all about. But there's also a safety component to having these lights on. It's something other than the dome lights, which are extremely bright. It's hard to drive when these lights are so bright like that. But if you have these little string lights going, it lightens it up in the car, so you feel a little bit more aware of what's going on. And the passengers, I think, feel safer because they can see what's going on in the car. So that's something that I offer. Plus, of course, hand sanitizing gel, candies, and the infamous, barf bags. I mean, kind of a negative part of the job, but you got to have something like that always available just in case, But for those also wanting to have fun, by now you realize I'm a bit of a joker, so I have a fart machine in my car. And sometimes I put this under the seats, and I have a trigger up front, and I push the button, and it goes off when they least expect it. And even in the most serious thing. Like, I had a medical doctor in the car one time. And I wasn't sure if I was going to offend him or not, but I let it rip with this fart machine. Oh, he started laughing. It's all about the game, You want to have fun in the car and don't take yourself too seriously.
And tell me about the octopus.
Okay, the other item I have here in the car for entertaining the passengers is the octopus tablet. Now, octopus, I don't know exactly the ins and outs and how they pay you, but I discovered they pay me about $100 a month to have this in here. Now, what the octopus does is it has some video trivia games in here, has some weather reports, even has information about the driver here. So it's got my profile right there. It's kind of hard to see right now in the dark, but has stuff like that on there. For people who are fidgety, who like to mess around on their phones and all that, this is really great for them because they get to play a game, they get to learn about their driver, plus you make some extra money too.
Can you tell me about the scent that you use in your car?
I have passengers always comment about how clean and nice my car is and it smells great. Well, that's not done by accident. I do it always on purpose. And one of the best scents that I've discovered is this product by Scentsy. Now, they're not sponsoring this video, obviously, but it's a light spray. It's not a heavy perfumey scent. So I'll just give it a squirt every now and then while I'm driving, maybe after 3 or 4 passengers, or after a real stinky passenger, I spray it a few times, Now, I do recommend, if you're going to be using air freshener spray like this, don't spray it up into the air like this, because then it gets everywhere and it's going to be overwhelming strong. I spray it towards the ground.
So hold it and spray it. One more. Tell me about the apps that you use and the latest information you share on the WhatsApp group. You're always texting us something that helps drivers out.
Well, what I use for apps, obviously I use Uber and Lyft driver app. And for my cash rides, I use an app called Meter, the Meter app. And it works just like a taxi driver app. I just program the per mile and the per minute that I get from Lyft into that. And if I'll be offering the customer, the cash drive customer, 10% discount, then I give them a 10% discount off of that, and then I could email them the receipt afterwards, and they will have the coordinates of the ride, and just like any other rideshare app has, so they get that sent to them, and they want to show that to their employer, so that if their employer pays for their ride, they can prove that they paid for a ride. I use that one, but I also use Stuvo. Stuvo is something that was created mostly to help delivery drivers like Uber Eats or DoorDash or something like that. But how I found it useful for me is I could see how many Uber and Lyft drivers are out there in a particular area better than I could with the Rider app. Now, some of you are familiar with using the Rider app and pretend that you're going to request a ride, right? And seeing how many other cars are around you. Well, I don't find that very accurate, because then when you do that, all you see is just whatever app you're using at the time, all the Lyft riders that are near you. So if you want to get an idea what other drivers are around you that are in Uber, you got to do it on the Uber Rider app and then find out how many of those are around you. But with Stuvo, it doesn't care. It just shows all Lyft and Uber drivers in your vicinity. That makes it easier for me to determine where I'm going to relocate if there's too many drivers in one area where we're oversaturated in an area. I'm looking at the likelihood of being, having an offer sent to me right away is I'll have to be waiting a long time. So I want to better make those chances a little better, getting a good ride offer by being in an area where it's not oversaturated. So I'll use Stuvo for that. But there's other apps that you could use as well, such as I already mentioned the Lyft Rider app and the Uber Rider app. That's a good tool if you're doing a cash ride too, because you can do an estimate using those apps to give to your cash client and tell them, hey, Uber and Lyft is charging this much to go to that destination. How about we charge you the same amount minus 10%, so that's a good tool for that as well.
What's a story or a memorable challenge you've had with the passenger?
Well, some of the biggest challenges is when you're dealing with people who have drank too much. You're worried that they're going to throw up in your car, or if they're going to become violent and belligerent, and sometimes they're just sloppy drunks that just passed out in your car. So that reminds me of a story that was actually kind of funny. I went to this one brewery here in Chula Vista, in the east part of Chula Vista here, and I was hailed there, so I went there to go pick up somebody, and I pulled up to in front of the brewery, and I see these two guys. I open up my sliding door here, and I see two guys carrying one guy who was kind of slumped over. One guy had him by the shoulder underneath the armpit, and the one had the other side, and they're dragging him into my car, and I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. No, I don't think so. I'm not taking this guy. They're like, no, he's cool. He's already vomited a ton of times in here. It's like, we just want you to take him home. It's a short distance from here. It's less than 5 minutes from here. It's like, well, if he's already vomited, okay, fine, you know. So they got him into the car. They buckled him in, and I knew I was probably not going to get a tip or anything, because I can't even talk with the guy. I can't schmooze with him. I can't joke around with him. He's like, you know, he's called comatose. So we get to his location, and I stopped the car, and I opened the door, and I said, sir, we've arrived to your destination. And he doesn't reply. So I nudge him, and he goes, oh, yeah. I said, dude, we're here. He says, oh, okay, thanks. Can you help me get to the door? I was like, yeah, sure. I go, that's not part of my job description, but right on, I'll do it, you know. So I walk around the car over to the passenger side, and I'm helping him get out of the door, and he's still kind of out of it, really doesn't know what's going on. And I'm walking him towards the door, got my hand around his waist and the other one underneath his arm. And I'm walking him to the front door stoop, and I have him sit down on the first steps right there in front of the door. So then I knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and that's when the guy starts to come to, right? He's like looking around. He goes, this is not my house. I go, no? He goes, no, this is my mom's house. Just as he said that, the door swings open, and it's his mother. And she goes, oh no, not again. She says, I told you to change the address on your driver's license. Every time this happens, they bring you right here. Well, apparently what happened, the rider didn't call for the ride. What happened is the guys at the bar, the security guys that were carrying him out to the car, they pulled out his phone, saw that he had an Uber app, hailed the car to the address that was on his ID that they had, right? And that's how he got there.
Advice do you have about new drivers for them to managing their time and resources?
You know, managing your time and resources for drivers, that's a good question, because when I first started, I was taking every ride that was coming to me, which was crazy. You know, that sucks up a lot of your time, a lot of your resources, driving around looking for a new location to pick up people at. And now that my time is part-time now, I have to make the most of my time. So I look at the times when it's the busiest. You know, I'm looking at the times when I know people are coming in for conventions, and there's easy ways you can do that. Whatever town you're in, just look up, maybe there's a city commerce department or whatever, and they might announce on the city's website the conventions that are coming into town, or you have a convention center, go to their websites. I look at when those conventions start, so I know when it's going to be the busiest. So I'm not just aimlessly driving around out there, because I'm limited on time. As I said, I only drive part-time, and I have to take care of my mother-in-law sometimes. So I always look for the prime time, and that's when I drive. I hate sitting and waiting. I mean, I'm learning from the master here, Ahmed, how to be patient, because I have a hard time being patient. I have ADD, so I'm not going to sit around. I'll be taking every dinky little ride if I just sit around. So I don't do that. I know me. I know what my challenges are. I know I can't just sit around when it's slow, because then I'll be tempted to take these cheap little crappy rides that Uber and Lyft send us. And you don't want to do that, please. If you're a driver out there, don't take cheap rides. Know your worth. You know, I don't take anything less than $5 when it's slow, you know, because at least I know I get some volume of people coming in and owning short rides. But generally, my minimum is $10, at least $1.50 a mile. That's my target right there.
What other advice do you have for new drivers?
You know, what I do nowadays, since I'm a cherry picker, I really don't care about my acceptance rate. I think my acceptance rate is like 32%, which to Uber and Lyft, that's not great, but you know what? They're still going to send me rides, right? So I might not make it to the pro bonuses such as Diamond and the rewards from that. But honestly, those rewards they offer, they're not worth cash. You know, they're just little crumbs that they feed to you. But what I tend to do is, since I don't care about the acceptance rate, even when I know I'm not going to be driving, I'll keep the app on and just to monitor what kind of offers come in, because it's a way to train your brain and your mind as to what kind of rides are available out there at certain times of the day. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. Just turn it on. You can see the pings that are coming in. You can see, oh, this is garbage. I wouldn't have taken that. Oh, that's garbage. Ooh, that would have been sweet if I would have been working. That's a $120 ride all the way to LA. Yeah, all day long. I would love to take that. You know, and you're just playing the simulation game, right? But you can't play the simulation game unless you have these pings coming in, right? And guess what? Since you really don't get penalized, not in a way that really hurts your cash, right? Your acceptance rate. In fact, I don't know. There's a... Where do I start out now?
Just keep going.
So anyways, you know, I don't care about my acceptance rate. You know, there's this conversation right now in the rideshare industry. Does acceptance rates really count for anything? You know, I know these companies would like you to think that they're having a high acceptance rate is important, and they even entice you with these little spiffs and little crumbs and little stipends like, you know, hey, you'll get 10% off at the Valvoline oil change if you're an Uber Pro Diamond driver. Well, guess what? You go to any Valvoline, just tell them you're an Uber Pro Diamond driver. They don't even check your qualifications if you are or not. They're still going to give you whatever discount is the promo for Uber drivers at the time. So don't believe that nonsense. So I'll generally just have the app running, pinging me, and it trains me to know what kind of rides are coming in. And then I pay attention. How long did it take before that $50 ride came in? How many $5, $3 rides did I decline before this $100 ride came in? It does teach you a little bit about patience.
So basically, you're studying the algorithm and the patterns.
Yeah,
and you're in a city where there's rides all around you. You're right by the airport. You're right by downtown. You're right by the border.
That's right.
So you basically learned like that, and then you apply it when you're out driving. You know when the market is hot. You know when it's cold.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, since I know what kind of offers are coming in, whether it's hot or cold, the other thing I'm learning is not only that area that you're in, but how long does it take before a good offer comes in. I know something that Ahmed teaches about the algorithm, right? The algo does something, you got to break the algo. Well, how do you do that? You know, you need to train the algo. At least that's what Uber says. You know, it says, hey, our algo responds to your driving style. You know, so if you're always accepting these little $4 rides, $3 rides, well, they have no reason to send you a $15 ride, a $25 ride, a $50 ride, right? Because you keep accepting these cheap stuff. You know, Uber's not doing this directly to you. It's the algo that's doing that. So what you got to do is you got to break the algo. You got to train the algo to teach them what you will accept. I remember one time after watching one of Ahmed's videos about training the algo, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to go try it. I'm going to do some experimenting. I'm not going to accept shit. So anything that's less than $5, I'm going to decline automatically. And so I started, man, I actually got logged off of Uber. You know, after so many declines, Uber will log you off, then you have to log back in. I mean, I think Uber logged me off like 3 times, and then I logged back in, and then boom, I got a $15 ride. So yeah, that was like maybe 20 rides that I declined in a 30-minute time span, and then, you know, I got a $15 ride once. The next time I got like a $60 ride, you know, and if you get enough of those in your pocket, boy, you know, you're making more than $35 an hour.
So you actually watch those videos and study them and understand them. Because I thought people just, you know, some people watch them, some people don't. So you're telling me stuff that I've been putting in, like I made 200 videos. And I threw that somewhere in a video. So that's actually kind of cool for me to know that people who are serious about treating Uber as a business, they're watching the videos, and if not in every video, because I'm a little redundant, but there's enough information in there that it's adding to what you already know. Yeah. Then you tell me, then we teach the drivers in our WhatsApp group, then I learn stuff, then I put it back on the YouTube. So it's almost like a cycle where we're creating a manual and a course for Uber without Uber. Now this way Uber can't take advantage of the new drivers anymore. Yeah. We're taking that away from them because new drivers can learn less than a month.
Absolutely. You know, the secret to dealing with Uber and Lyft and being profitable is not falling for their schemes. So forget about their little promos, forget about chasing after the surges. You know, what's smarter for you to do is, even if you're off duty and not working that night or whatever, keep your app on, be watching where the surges are happening, at what time they happen, how much they're offering for the surges. Be aware, even though you're not driving that day, have the app on, be aware, see where it happens, take note. Oh, there's a surge. It happens in National City at Plaza Bonita at 4:30 p.m. Okay, probably people getting off of work at the mall, right? So pay attention to that. Oh, it's happening at the amphitheater, you know, the North Island Amphitheater down in South Bay. Oh, there's probably a concert. Pay attention to that. What time do the surge happens? How much do they offer? Oh, downtown, probably all these people need rides home, you know, after going out to the nightclub or the bar or to dinner. It doesn't matter if they're going out to the baseball game to see the Padres. Look at what areas of town it's surging. You know, pay attention to those things, what time it is and how much it is. That way, you're not chasing the surge. Because if you're smart enough and you've taken enough notes and you know where it's happening and at what time and on what days, you be there before the surge starts. And then, boom, you're guaranteed to get it, instead of chasing the surge and then having it disappear on you. Well, nowadays, you know what they're doing? They're doing both things. They're raising the prices to riders and cutting the rate to drivers. So that's one of the challenges right now. And you got to figure out how you can maneuver, how you're going to get around this in order to still keep this as a viable business. Well, some of the challenges I face, actually most of the challenges I face have been in the beginning when I was a new driver, before I knew all these tips and tricks, you know, such as those that Ahmed teaches, you know. But my challenges were learning how to deal with these low offers, learning how to deal with these what do you call it? threats that don't mean anything from Uber and Lyft. They're Uber and Lyft, they tend to be very passive aggressive in their messaging to you. They're like, oh, you've had too many cancellations, watch what that does to your rating, you know. Or you're not accepting enough, you know, we need to keep the community active out there for our community members. Listen, when they're talking about community, they're not talking about you or me as drivers. They're talking about the drivers and how much money they're going to make for themselves, not for you. So that's something that I had to learn, that when they're talking about safety for the community or reliability for the community, they're not talking about you. They're talking about their passengers, and they're talking about what's in it for them, not what's in it for you. How do I stay positive and motivated in difficult situations with this gig work that has its ups and downs? Well, you know, I look at it as to what part of it is it that I like. You know, I like the interaction with other human beings, having fun, being myself. You know, that motivates me, that makes me happy, where I love human beings in general. I like other people, you know, so I love having fun with them. I like joking with them, and I'm a very communicative person. I'm very a verbal person. I'm very outgoing, and so that's a way for me to exercise my outgoing persona, right? And all this is part of that, you know, this crazy t-shirts that I wear, the chains, the glasses, and the hat. Kind of keeps things on a good vibe with the passengers. They don't feel threatened. They don't feel that I'm taking myself too seriously, you know, because I'm not. I'm trying to make them feel comfortable, happy, and have fun, and know that they get in their car with me, they're going to have good vibes.
Share some tips on how drivers can get more tips.
Well, one way that you can get more tips is just be yourself. You know, treat the person that's in your car like they're your best friend. You know, like they're your mate, they're your sister, your brother. So whenever somebody comes in, I might say, yo, bro, what's up? Anything good? What's good today? You know, stuff like that, kind of lighten the mood a little bit. If I see a young lady coming in, it's like, wow, you look amazing. Your hair looks fantastic, you know. Of course, ladies always like to hear good remarks about their appearance and stuff like that. So where are you going to, dear? You're going to go have some fun, going to go meet some friends? What's going on today? You know, that kind of lightens the mood there, and that starts the conversation, and you can tell if somebody wants to communicate with you, or if they're a person who's introverted and doesn't want to talk to you. One good clue is, as soon as they sit into the car to put their earbuds on, forget it. That's the end of the conversation. Don't push it. It's not going anywhere. The other thing is, if you're driving a group of people, let's say 4 people or even 2 people, if you notice after the initial greeting that they're into each other more, talking to each other, don't intervene. Don't put yourself into their conversation. It's very uncomfortable and creepy. Don't do that.
Are your thoughts on the current state of the rideshare industry?
That's a good question. My thoughts on the current state of the rideshare industry. Oh boy, I think we're looking towards a period in rideshare history where we're going to see some dramatic changes. Mostly because rideshare drivers are still now getting to the point where they've had enough. You know, they're like, I had enough of abuse from these companies, and it's not abuse directed at them, but it's abuse because once these companies became publicly traded company and had to show a profit to their investors, what did they do? How do they make more profit? Well, they can either charge their customers more money and make more profit, or they can not give the drivers as much of a pay and take some of what normally would go to them and put that in their own pocket. Well, nowadays, you know what they're doing? They're doing both things. They're raising the prices to riders and cutting the rate to drivers. So that's one of the challenges right now. And you got to figure out how you can maneuver, how you're going to get around this in order to still keep this as a viable business. So there are things happening not only in with the local lawmakers, either your municipalities or your state lawmakers, but also there's newfound competition coming to those areas. And that's something I'm very excited about now. How do I do my own competition? Of course, I just told you, I recruit private rides for cash. You know, so I use the apps to get introduced to these clients. As soon as I hit it off with them with good vibes and I convince them to call me next time for their scheduled ride, I know I just gotten a client away from Uber or Lyft. So that's one way I'm disrupting their business. But the other way is there's other companies coming into the marketplace. I don't know if I should name them all, but there's Rides, there's Hum, there's a bunch of other companies coming in, and they're a subscription-based company. And what that is they charge the drivers a flat amount, boom. The rest of it, 100% of it, goes to the driver of that rate. 100% of it, minus some costs such as credit card processing fees and all that, right? And a little bit to keep their operations up and going. But that's it. It's not like right now with Uber and Lyft, they're taking up to 60%, 70%. Oh, geez, it's crazy. And then they hide it and pack it into the external fees. External fees such as insurance, such as municipal costs. How is it that for the same ride that I've taken twice for the same passenger sometimes on Uber, same distance, same pickup, same location, I get charged differently for their external fees? Now, I'm saying I get charged. I am getting charged because that's the amount they deduct from what they're paying me. What amount they're adjusting on their external fees. It's different every time. You know, sometimes they'll charge me 50% of the rate. You know, sometimes it's only 10% of the rate. Either way, it's coming out of my rate, right? Because if they're taking it out of the rate, keeping the rest for themselves, then giving me the leftovers, they're taking it out of my pocket. That's the way I look at it.
Do you know that I've been tracking this? If I drop off a wealthy person to Rancho Bernardo Inn, the comfort ride Uber service fee will be $60. My pay is $69. I take an Uber XL ride to the same spot, Uber service fee will be $50. And my income will be slightly different, meaning it doesn't matter if you Uber XL or Comfort or X, when they want to nail somebody and they got money, yeah. I'm telling you, Uber gets them.
And I think they do that using their algorithm because they know what area of town this person lives, so they know they have money.
And they're on vacation, they're having a good time.
Yeah, if they're at the Hilton in La Jolla, you know, they're going to know this person's got money. Or
isn't it like racial profiling or something?
I don't know if it's racial profiling. I imagine there could be, especially if you're in a bad area of town.
Yeah.
You know, they know how much they can get from somebody, and they know they're not going to charge that much. So.
Like they don't charge students $50 service fee, but they'll charge a wealthy man or woman that's out here on a business or from a foreign country. That's scandalous, bro.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the most valuable lesson you've learned as a rideshare driver?
The most valuable lesson that I've learned as a rideshare is actually 2 parts. One, don't trust the rideshare apps. They're not in it for you. They're not in their business to help you out. They're in it for themselves. So keep that in mind. They're in it for themselves, not for you. Number 2 is know your worth. You know, are you worth $3 a ride that only comes by every 15 minutes, or are you worth $60 a ride that might come by once an hour? How much do you want to make? What are you worth? That's how you determine. That's a very valuable lesson you have to learn. Know your worth.
How do you balance the risk and reward of rideshare driving?
The way you balance the risk and reward of rideshare driving is be aware. Use your intuition. If you pulling up to somebody and you're going to pick them up and they're leaning against a telephone pole, then they fall over because they're that drunk. Guess what? That's not a passenger you want. So pass them, cancel, go on to the next one. That's the way I look at it. If you pick up some ladies from a nightclub and they've been drinking and they start being really flirty, and you might think it's a reward because they're flirting with you and you want to flirt back with them, and it's very tempting because it's a compliment, right? You're getting from these ladies, but that's a trap. So be very polite and just be friendly, be yourself, but put that aside. That's not a reward. And especially when they invite you up to their place. I've had that happen several times. To say, be very polite, and I know the way I answered it is like, well, no, sorry, I have to turn that down because I'm married. If my wife finds out I went upstairs with a very beautiful, sexy lady, she's going to be upset at me. So that's a way that you can let them down softly with a compliment. So I have this in my car. It's unambiguous. It's very clear what I'm expecting.
If you could change one thing about the rideshare industry, what would it be? And take your time if you need to think about it.
The thing I would change in the rideshare industry, so the way I answer that is, if I was a rideshare company, what would I do? I would change them all to subscription services. Uber can charge, it just like I don't know if you remember back in the day, if you've ever been a taxi driver. I did it when I was in my 20s for about 3 months, But the taxi companies, when you get to a certain level of success, they'll lease you the car for a flat rate, and then whatever you make over on top of that, that's for you in your pocket. I think that's a good model. So if the companies like Uber or Lyft just charge a flat rate, whatever that is, $20 a month, $30 a month, I don't care. I'd be willing to pay them $200 a month, honestly, if I could keep the rest to myself. I think that's where the industry needs to be going, and if I were in control of it, that's what I would do.
They make that a day. If I make 200, I've done calculations, they're taking 150 at least to $200.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Out there in the media, we get bombarded with messages that are either directly at us or indirectly, subliminal messages. Well, you know what? I don't have that much time with the rider in my car to put out messages that aren't directly understood. So I have this in my car. It's unambiguous. It's very clear what I'm expecting. Also, I let them know how I feel about these companies, whether I trust them or not. This placard here says Rideshare Drivers Tip Jar. Do I trust Uber and Lyft to send me your full tip? Nope, I do not. That starts a conversation, doesn't it?
I got deactivated from Lyft and I want to take them to court. Can you explain to me what the process is? Because I think you've dealt with something similar.
Yeah. Now, if you've been deactivated from Lyft or Uber, there's a very simple process, especially if you know you're innocent, that the deactivation was wrongful, not fair. It's very easy to do. These companies don't want to spend any money on legal fees. Every time they have to hire an attorney, you know how much it costs? It costs a lot of money. So if you sue them in small claims court and you have a good case, it doesn't even have to be a super strong case. Just has to show that there was some kind of unfairness, and you're going to sue them for up to $10,000, because that's usually the maximum that you can sue in small claims courts, $10,000. Go ahead and sue them for $10,000 for wrongful deactivation and also for lost wages. You're going to get a response from them. Believe me, it's going to be very fast. It costs you $50 to file that. In addition to that, you got to pay a fee to have it served by a third party. So they're going to be served kind of like a summons. Hey, you've just been sued. They've been notified they've been sued. And sue them from wherever your city is, because Uber and Lyft, they don't have attorneys in every city. If it gets to that point to where they have to have an attorney up here, yeah, they'll hire an attorney in that city to take care of it, which is going to be astronomical cost to them. So they rather settle out of court.
So what do you fill out? What form in small claims court? What do you fill?
Yeah, it's just a small claims court form. The clerk, whatever courthouse you're in, city clerk's office, they'll show you what form you need to fill out. It's very simple. Small claims court doesn't allow you to hire an attorney. You're basically representing yourself. So just think of that for a minute. You're representing yourself. You're not paying money for an expensive attorney. Uber has to hire an attorney because Dara Khashoggi is not going to show up in court to defend his company.
You think David Fish will show up?
No, they won't show up either. They're going to pay some attorney, but you know how much money they're going to have to pay?
A lot. $4.50 an hour.
It's cheaper for them to settle with you.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, how do you get their address? Like where to send the sheriff?
Just
or
send it to the corporate office in San Francisco.
For both?
For both. You can either have a process server do it. You can have a local sheriff in San Francisco do it. It doesn't have to be a sheriff. You can have a regular process server do it. They have process service companies you can hire online.
Okay, so let me redo it. So go to your small claims court, get the paperwork from the clerk, fill it out, submit it. Then they'll give you something you got to serve. Have a process server serve them in San Francisco, and then just wait for them to hear back. And they write to you or they email you?
They have to respond within a certain time.
Okay.
Because the small claims court, they'll stipulate a certain date. Since the small claims was filed, the lawsuit was filed, there's a stipulation on it by a certain time they have to respond. And if they don't respond within that certain time,
win.
And you show up in court, you automatically win. Now, Uber and Lyft are not going to do that. You know what they're going to do is they're going to have their, I don't know, not their attorney, but what is that other word? Paralegal. They're going to have a paralegal contact you that works for one of the law firms that they work for, that they hire, you know?
They don't email you. They give it to all in writing, right?
Yep.
Okay. I want to get out of Uber's arbitration, and they just sent me something about a week ago, as Sign did. Can you tell me how to deal with that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. You have 30 days. If you read the fine print of that agreement, you have 30 days to say, I want out of this agreement. Okay? So what you do is you can either send them an email directly to their legal department at Uber or Lyft, or what I like doing, much simpler, go to Rideshare Drivers United. It's an organization for all rideshare drivers. They're fighting for us and for our benefits and all that. But they have a link on their website. It's simple click, fill in your information, your name, your email address, phone number, whatever, which company it is that you want to opt out of. You click that, it'll automatically send an email to their legal department at Lyft or Uber, and then send you a copy as well. That's so much easier.
Now you're gonna listen to two old men enjoying the fart machine for a couple of minutes. Come on, this is gonna make you laugh. Stop farting, bro.
All right, I gotta play that farting machine to you right now. You're gonna laugh.
Do it.
But this is not a safe place to keep your car at night because you get car break-ins over here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if things have improved. I mean, it was many years ago when I owned a salon in this property over here. And my car got broken into, but that was like 20 years ago. So I don't know if things have changed since then or what, you know. Talking about you got diarrhea.
Yeah, it's like
Does it make you kind of...
Dude, that's freaking cool, dude. Dude, if I'm laughing making the video.
Oh my god, that was a good one right there.
Dude, that's what it feels like, my stomach right now.
Yeah. You're about to shart yourself right there.
Don't remind me, dude. I already did it once. Hey, can you imagine when we get older and we need diapers?
Dude, it's happened to the best of us.
Remember to check out the playlist. I will be adding more driver interviews. Are you a rideshare driver? Would you like to be interviewed by me? Do you have tips, tricks, and hacks that will benefit the rideshare community? My email address is right here. Give me an email. Let's help the other drivers. That's it. And check out this next video that I have linked for you. I also have the playlist linked for you. Enjoy. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing.